Hey everybody, today I started thinking about my containers for at my own house, and I always start in the shade because shade containers can be a little bit slower starters. So because I have the advantage of the greenhouse, I like to start them a little early. That way they're a little bigger by the time I get them home, like usually it's the first week in June. So I'm thinking about shade plants, so I pulled a bunch of my favorite plants that do pretty well in the shade, and I'm going for inspiration to my very favorite container from last year, and it happened completely by accident. I was planting up two Hypoestes. I was going to compare the Proven Winners Hippo variety with the Splash Select variety, just to see which one I preferred or what the differences were. And when I did that, I thought, well, I'm also going to just throw in, I had these Rockapulco Appleblossom double Impatiens. They're kind of the traditional type of impatient, but with a double flower on them. And so I tucked them in there, and that combination was so beautiful. Those double Impatiens, those rosettes on them were so beautiful, and they created almost like this cloud, and that light apple blossom color looked a lot like a cloud of cotton candy. It was really gorgeous, and then the Hypoestes kind of worked its way through it. It was really beautiful. Now the big difference that I noticed between the Hippo variety from Proven Winners and the Splash Select, the Hippo variety, the leaves were a little bigger and the plant got a little bigger as well. The coloring was a little bit different too. So the pink had a little bit more high contrast between, it was a darker pink with a darker green leaf. And meanwhile, the Splash Select, it was very light pink. I really like the color of the Splash Select a little bit better. I did notice with the Proven Winners variety, if I pinched it back, it kind of branched out a little bit more and got a little more full. And that was the case. The Splash Select, I didn't have to do that pinching. It kept that habit that I like a little bit more, but depending on how you want to use it, like if you need it a little bigger so that it kind of finds its way through with larger containers, I think the Hippo variety is really good that way, but I would take either one of those in a heartbeat. So you couldn't talk me out of either one of them. I think they're both great for different reasons. They do say that the Hippo variety can take full sun. I didn't test it in full sun. I really should have gotten another one so I could put it in full sun and see how it does. I did have the Splash Select and that one growing in full sun in the greenhouse, so they were fine up until June 1st, but I didn't try them later on in the season when we have that more intense summer sun. So, okay, so that was my inspiration right there. As I'm thinking about that, I'm thinking about those pink and kind of purpley colors as well. So I do want to use an Impatient again this year because that did so well on my front porch. But I think instead of going with kind of the traditional Impatient, I want to go with a New Guinea Impatient. Some of the New Guineas are nice because a lot of those can take more light than the traditional Impatient. And there are a lot of varieties that can take full sun. In fact, some of them prefer full sun. Most popular one is Sunpatiens, and there's loads of colors of those. There's also two different sizes. So there's the compact, which still gets quite big, and then there's the vigorous, and that one gets very, very large. So pay attention to that when you're planting them up, because the vigorous ones might be bigger than you want them to get, but you know, it kind of all depends on what your preference is. Also note that where it says purple for most of your Impatiens, it's going to be this color here, and it's kind of that similar kind of purple that you'll see in petunias, where it's got that mix of like a violet and fuchsia put together. So it, you know, really intense color, definitely a standout color. So I wanted to do one of those, but I knew that instead of a Sunpatient, last year I fell in love with the roller coaster New Guinea Impatient. I picked one up, gave it to my sister. It looks so beautiful. She had it on the north side of her house. If that thing got 2 hours of sunlight a day, and it was in pretty dark shade the rest of the day, it didn't care. It loved every minute of it. So I really want to do one of the roller coaster varieties. And I thought, you know, I'm going to put it with a begonia, but one of the Rex begonias. And Rex begonias are known for having these really interesting leaves. And there's a lot of different colors and patterns on them. So this is a new one from Proven Winners. It's called Space Age Black Hole. And you can see really nice variation in the leaf color. I mean, it goes from really dark to really light, back to really dark. This one here is one called Bewitched Lavender. And you can see that there's, you know, not quite the contrast in it, but really beautiful coloring on this. We had actually ordered the Bewitched Pink, which is a paler pink color that I really like that one. I had planted that one with some plants last year too and loved it. But they didn't have that one, and they substituted the lavender, which is still beautiful. But I think because we have this one, I probably would have went with a brighter one. But anyway, I think I want to go with this Space Age Black Hole because it's just such a beautiful plant. I think it's going to be really interesting. So I want to start there. And so when I'm picking my Impatient, I'm looking at my roller coasters, and unfortunately, I think like a color like this would look so beautiful with that particular begonia, but I don't have a roller coaster in this color, but I do have the hot pink, which I think is going to look really, really good with this. So I'm going to do that. Now, I was debating, like maybe I should put 2 begonias in. I wasn't going to put 2 of the Impatiens because those tend to get big, but then I started looking at the size, and I remembered seeing this in the trial garden, and this one, I have to remind myself, gets 15 to 18 inches tall and wide. So really, this pot isn't quite big enough for all that. It'll look kind of wimpy right now, but I know this is going to fill out really, really nice. And this plant gets about the same size as well, so I'm going to go halvesies on this. And I know some people are like, oh no, you always have to use odd numbers, or you have to do a thriller, spiller, filler. But you know what? When you see these later on in the season, you're going to go, oh, that wasn't so bad. You can break the rules like that. I do want to add a little something to it, though, so I thought it'd be kind of nice to put this Tradescansia. Also, a lot of people call it either Wandering Jewel or Wandering Jew. And so I thought I'm going to just tuck these in as well, so that way I'll have something growing over the edge. So let's pop these in right away, and I'll let you know some of my ideas on this. So when we're planting up begonias, it doesn't really matter which kind, you might notice that your begonias point in a certain direction. So when we look at this one, I would consider this the back, and I'd consider this the front, because most of the leaves kind of lean that way. It's not always the case, or it's not always super noticeable, but sometimes you might really find that it's very much a dramatic kind of difference between the two. So get some more soil in here. So we'll get that tucked in. And then I'm going to go with my other bigger plant, and we'll tuck that in. So I tend to squeeze the bottoms like this, and it loosens them up. Also, you're probably thinking like, oh, he needs to break up those roots. A lot of people swear by that. This is really good soil. This plant is not that old, and these are annuals, so I don't worry so much about breaking up the roots with these. It's not necessary. I know some people are going to think I'm crazy for not doing that, but that's more of an issue, I think, with trees and sometimes shrubs as well. So I wouldn't get too hung up on that. So we're going to tuck this in as well. I love this color. This one's called, the Tradescansia is called Nanouk. So it's a really nice pink color. There's another new color out that looks really, really good. I can't remember what it's called. I'll put it on the screen. We'll be trying to get that one next year because it's just such a bright pink color. So it's nice to see the new varieties coming out. We also have one called Pistachio, and that one's kind of more white and green. And then I do have this one here. This one is called Zebra Yellow. And so it has a nice variegation on it as well. So let's see. Now, one thing I'm going to show you when it comes to the Tradescansia, like these are getting kind of nice arms on it. If you want, you can do a little quick trim on this. And what I look for, I don't know how well you can see this, but this has some new growth happening on each side of this. I'm just going to cut this off right here. And then I'm just going to also tuck it in just kind of over here somewhere. As long as it's touching the soil, it usually will take root. Tradescansia is really good about that. So this will help fill this in a little bit sooner. It is going to take a couple weeks before we notice any changes in the growth of this Tradescansia. In fact, I'm going to wait till I get these tucked in before I actually put that in there, because I do want it to be on the top, touching the soil, because wherever it touches, it tends to send down roots. So I'll add more soil in this later on, but you get the idea. I've got the 2 main plants here, and then the spiller is going to just kind of fill in as well. So try another one. Okay, the other one that I want to give a go is this Browallia. Is that what it's called? Browallia. This is a new plant for me, so I'm not as familiar with it. So I think I'm going to put it in, which container was I going to do? I think I'm going to put it in this one here. And I really like this container too. It's really quite nice. So I've got 2 of them, and I'm going to put both of them in here. And then I was trying to decide what I was going to put them with. Ooh, look at this. I got up there. So I decided I was going to go with a begonia, and more traditional begonia. Now the flowers have been cut off on this one, but this one is called Peaches and Cream, and it's from the Nonstop Joy series. Now there's Nonstop and Nonstop Joy. Nonstop Joy tends to be a little bit more has a little bit more trailing action, not tons of trailing action, but a little bit more. And the Peaches and Dreams has blooms that could open more yellow or peach or pinky kind of colored. So there's quite a bit of variation in the colors. You don't really know what you're going to get with this one until it starts to open, but it's really quite beautiful. So I love that. When it comes to other begonias as well, there's loads of colors on these. A lot of these varieties of tuberous begonias now, and well, a lot of the different varieties can take sun or shade, but you want to check the tags because there's some that absolutely can't take full sun. But this one here, because I'm putting it with the, it's called Endless Illumination, this is more of a shade to part shade kind of plant. So this is not going to be getting full sun. So my begonias are going to be perfectly happy. Other types of begonias that are out there though are some of the like wax begonias, like this one here. Look at the nice dark leaf on this one. This one is a new one called Big White Bronze Leaf. And so it's new this year, has this beautiful dark leaf, almost like a chocolatey color, and then the pure white flowers. They're really beautiful. We had trimmed flowers off of these so you don't get to see the bloom right here, but I'll make sure there's a picture up. And the other one that I want to tell you about is this one here, and it's called the Stonehenge. And the color of this one is the rose bronze leaf. I think there's a pink bronze leaf as well. I think there's flowers on this one. So this, I think the pink bronze leaf, if I remember correctly, it's a darker pink, but for some reason, I just think that this color of flower on this leaf, it just stands out beautifully. And this is a giant big leaf begonia or wax begonia. It gets huge, think like 3 feet tall and wide. It's gargantuan. So it's one of the biggest on the market. And it's growing pretty fast. That's why we put it in these bigger containers, because the more room you give it, the better it's going to grow. So I'm looking forward to this one. I'm going to use it some other way. I'm not sure how we're going to plant that one up yet. So always really nice. So let's see what I can come up with these. So get these begonias in here. Come on. I don't want to pull too much on these because I don't want to lose my leaves. So I think I might do the Browallia first because it's bigger, like it's got a deeper container. And again, these are the Eco Grande or Eco Grande pots that Proven Winners does. They're compostable and biodegradable, so you could plant the whole pot in here if you wanted to, but you can just throw it in your compost or bury it in the yard and it'll just decompose on its own. So it's not made with any kind of plastic or anything like that. So I do want to make sure and look. I think I want to rotate my begonias again so that they're going to grow more outward. I'm not going to worry about having anything in the center for this one because I think these plants are going to do just fine. And we're going to try to tuck all this soil in there. So these still have a lot of growing to do, but I think they'll be beautiful. And then I have these old hanging baskets that I want to use. So these have little handles that don't come off very easily, so I'm just going to leave them. And what I'm going to plant in these are going to be some of these fuchsia. So I'd ordered this one because I've never grown it before. It's called La Campanella. Campanella, yes. And the interesting thing is that this is it's full sun to full shade, which it has the word sun in capitals on this tag and shade in lowercase, which tells me that it actually prefers the sun, I think is what that usually means with Proven Winners on their thing. So I was a little surprised to see that because usually I think of fuchsia as a shade-loving plant. So that makes me a little bit nervous. So I want to test it out and see how it's going to do. Because, hey, I'd love to have some fuchsia in the sun because other fuchsia will burn in the sun. Like they'll get crispy and you don't want to go that way. Now, I have not a super big pot, so I don't want to overload it or anything like that. But I thought, you know what, I'm going to put it in with this Diamond Frost Euphorbia because this is another plant that can take, well, it says on the tag that it can take full to part sun, but you can actually put Diamond Frost Euphorbia in really shady areas and it does quite well too. So that's not such a big deal to have that. So we're going to actually this one's Diamond Snow, not Diamond Frost. So we're going to put that in there and then I'm going to put this one on this side. We'll see how this one does. I love putting euphorbia in hanging baskets and in some of these containers because it tends to just fill in through the other parts of the container and looks really great. So let's get some more soil in here. And right now, this is, I've got one whole side here that doesn't have a lot going on, but as the season goes on and as that fuchsia gets a little bigger, I'm going to just keep training those branches. I'm just going to keep nudging them over to the side. If I have to, I might weave them in around the handles, or I might weave them through some of the euphorbia as well, and just to kind of encourage it to spread out a little bit. So looks like I'm out of extra soil, so we'll just leave it at that. But so I just thought this would be a very interesting one. So I am going to grow this in full sun because I want to see how this does. And if I notice that the leaves aren't behaving very well or they're not growing well, I might move it into a less light area just because I don't want to risk it. And then I have another one of these pots There we go. So this time I'm going to try another begonia, and this begonia here is the Santa Cruz, and this is another one that I just wanted to try out, so I had ordered it and got it in, and let's see how it's going to do. So this one was trimmed probably not too long ago. Okay, let's get this out of here. There we go. So we're going to get this in there. I'm making a mess, aren't I? So, and I only have 2 of those plants, and I thought about putting other stuff in, and then as I thought about it, I thought, you know what, I'm going to just put some creeping Jenny in here, because creeping Jenny is another plant that, at least here in Michigan, we can put it in full sun or full shade, and it tends to do just fine. So I'm going to just tuck that in. And creeping Jenny is another one that you can kind of do like you did with the Tradescansia, where if you trim a little bit off, it does, oop, that wasn't rooted all the way to the bottom yet. These were recently planted. So I'm going to just tuck those to the side. I think I might push the begonia towards the center just a little bit. That way I'm hoping it'll kind of fill out really, really nice. So I'm going to have to get a little bit more soil for these. You know, I always underestimate how much soil I'm going to need. Then I'm going to just put these together. So this one doesn't look like much right now. I'll get that extra soil in. We'll let this begonia grow. This is another one that can be full sun or full shade. So I'll probably put it in a pretty sunny spot first. Then I know later on I can always make a change with it as well. So, hey, you guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I want to show you too. This is a nonstop white begonia. Other shade plants I should tell you about. I grabbed some Terenia. We had trimmed our Terenia recently, so all our flowers are gone, but this is a good one for shade, although I haven't had my Terenia bloom the full season. Mine tends to go a little bit in and out of bloom historically with it. I've only grown it like 3 times, so you know, that might be me, that might just be that one situation. Also have some lobelia. Oh, I was thinking about putting lobelia with something too. I brought it out here. I think I was thinking of putting it with this begonia, and then I decided, nope, we're gonna go with the creeping Jenny, but it would be nice. That orange and that light blue. Anyway, then also, I mean, coleus is always a great option. That you can get some really great colors. I know at some point this season I want to use this Florida Sun Gold or Sun Rose, but I've noticed that it's, you know, a lot of variation even among the single plant, like a lot of different colors on it and they're all kind of in that pink family and that burgundy family, but kind of ranges a lot. This one's still small, but this is the Main Street Rodeo Drive. I love this one. It has that nice black edge and really good like loopy serration on it, really quite nice. This is a Hypoestes. This is just a white one. Also, one of my favorite plants, and this is one that I had grown for the first time 2 years ago. This is a Gryphon begonia. Proven Winners also has a Pegasus begonia, which I think is pretty much the same thing. This thing, you know, looks nice enough now. It gets huge. It gets absolutely huge. It does really well, especially in lower light areas. My uncle brought his in for the winter and had it in his bedroom. It has now got like a trunk that is, I mean, it's huge. It actually has branches, and they do get little tiny flowers, but they're not major flowers, so nothing too notable about that. You can also, now Plectranthus is one of those plants that it says it likes full sun on this tag, but I've seen Plectranthus in full shade and it's done just fine. So that's another one, and the German ivy as well. And ivies in general can handle a lot of variation in their light as well. So, and the German ivy is very vigorous. So this is a nice one to kind of tuck in there if you need it to really fill out and do a good job quick. So, well, I need to kind of get these cleaned up and looking a little better before I hang them, but then I'll get some water on them, and then I'll keep you guys posted on how these planters are doing. Let me know what some of your favorite plants for shade are too, and how they do in your area. I will admit, in my household, we have one really bad habit. We tend to overwater our shade containers. We water them almost as frequently as we water the ones in the sun, and that's not always a good thing. And so I do notice like our Impatiens a lot of times won't flower very well, and when I check and I pick up the pot, I go, oh, that's because there's like tons of water in here. They need to dry out just a little bit. Begonias are going to be that same way. Another good one for shade, geraniums do surprisingly well in lower light. They might not like full shade, but they can handle a good amount of shade. So lots of options for you guys. I just wanted to kind of take you along for this. I'll keep you posted on these, and I'll talk to you guys all very, very soon.